Morning at NTV. I'm Arnold Sagawa to delve into the conversation around the return of taxis and public means of transport. We do have, I think the word is Ompepesiwe Chivuga. It's Stephen Bide joining us from Nansana. Stephen, just give me a sense of how Nansana is looking like today.
Yes, Arnold Sagawa, I've been here since 6 a.m. This is what has been happening here. More than tens and tens of people have been standing here, stranded, of course, waiting for the public means. It is now 72 days after the president declared a ban on public transport, and these people have been anxiously waiting for the resumption of this public transport. And today we were expecting that by now you'd be seeing many people heading towards the city using buses, posters and taxis, but standing here from 6 a.m. after a count of 20 minutes, you see only one taxi parking here to load these people heading towards the city center. This is Nansana along the Hoima Road, and when you see the pictures here of the vehicles coming from the direction of Wakiso, you see many of them are just private means. That means many of the taxis are still in garages, parking areas, and the places of the owners of these taxis are just still parking there. And this, I'm told, is just because KCCA is saying that all taxis and taxi drivers to hit the road, they have to make sure that the drivers have already registered with KCCA before they access the city. And many of the taxi drivers here are saying that they haven't been able to at least register with KCC, and they are saying that this is just because the conditions that have been set up by KCC are too harsh. Of course, this is, I think, in contravention of the directive by the president, because the president didn't give any condition apart from having a mask and having the temperature gun for those taxi drivers. Let me first of all speak to some of the passengers who are already stranded here, waiting for taxis to take them towards the city. Sebo, how do you see Sebo?
Badde Nansana ngenda Kampala kola.
Wano yimiddeko kumala bbanga ki?
Yimiriddewo essaawa nga 2. Sinnaba kulaba kutiitibwa takisi etwala Kampala. So nnyina okwennyamira ti gavumenti ebisaanyizo byatadde ku takisi biyinza okuba nga oba bizibu nnyo okutuukiriza, oba oliawo takisi zonna ezisobola okuba nga zitutwala. Etwennyamira nnyo okulaba nga emirimu tegenda mu maaso olw'okuba nti entambula tennaba kusumulwa bulungi. So yali badde tuterawo babbaasi zino zikole nga zo zirina ebisaanyizo netuba nga tulema okubonaabona. So nina okwennyamira kw'amaanyi nnyo okulaba nga tuli mu mbeera eteeyagaza bulungi.
Kino kigenda kunyiga kitya emirimu gyo? Kubanga kati okunyumidde wano essaawa 2 tonagenda mu kibuga, osuubira onovaawo ssaawa mekera, kigenda kunyiga kitya emirimu gyo wadde okola?
Kigenda kunyiga emirimu gyange kuba kinnuma nnyo, kuba simanyi nvaawo ssaawa mmeka, kuba ne ssente zennyini sizirina bulungi, ate takisi tebanatuwa bbeeyi ya nkomedenti eno tugenda 4,000 oba 5, buli omu zaagaaza ayita. Nnyo kitugenda kukola. Gavumenti tugikubira omulanga eveeyo okutunula ffe abantu ba wansi okulaba nga naffe tusobola okuba nga tukola emirimu gyaffe.
Amanya go Haji?
Amanya nze Sulaiman Mbaziira okuva ne Nansana.
Webale nnyo ssebo. Kambuzeeko ne ku maama ono naye mulaba byalinga gwe byasobedde nnyabo. Nyabo gwe obusanze wa mu byentambula?
Nkalubiddwa kinene kubanga natuuse wano ndowooza 12 kitundu naye nakati sinnafuna takisi entwala.
Okay. Nyabo omukyalo ono agamba yabadde wano. She has been here since 6:30 a.m. and up to now she hasn't yet been able to get a taxi. Of course, a few of the taxis that have been here, you had to wrestle for you to get a seat inside the taxis. And from here to Kampala, it's just almost between 7 and 8 kilometers, but they are charging you between 4,000 and 5,000 shillings before you head towards the city. This is what is happening here at Nansana. I'll be getting to you later on to let you know, at least hear from the taxi drivers, why they are not on the road for now. This is Morning at NTV. Here with me, Stephen Bide of Chibuga, now taking you back to studios.
Stephen Bide, I always love that title. Stephen Bide joining us from Nansana to just give us a sense of what the first day of the return to public transport looks like on Kampala streets. And let's just admit it, it is appalling. If someone arrived at the taxi stage or the taxi ramp at 6:30, and it's now 11 after 8. They're still waiting. Definitely a few things might need to be addressed on that particular front. But joining me now to still touch on that State of the Nation address that we're eagerly looking forward to, at least I am, is to my left the Lord Mayor for Kampala, Erias Lukwago, and to my extreme left I do have the Executive Director for Accord, that's Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha. Gentlemen, thanks for making time to speak to us. Lord Mayor, let me start with you. You have seen the situation in Nansana. Earlier on, we were in Chiraka, still right around the same. As someone who has been, for the longest time, maybe at the helm of the Kampala as a city itself, with this kind of appalling transport of a system, what do you say to such a system, if you are the Lord Mayor? How do you, what can you say?
Well, here you are looking at the symptoms, and I think they speak to a bigger crisis, a bigger challenge we are faced with as a country, because time and again we have told you we needed to structure all the operations. We needed to come up with concrete plans all through, from the beginning of the fight against COVID up to the end. Now I'm afraid it's difficult for some of us to focus so much on the tail end of this crisis. This was clearly foreseeable from the beginning. There was no structured plan on how we are going to fight the COVID, how we are going to manage a lockdown, and how we are going to work out an exit plan. So all that was never considered. And this is the crisis now we have been plunged into by that kind of situation where you have one person turning it into his own project. It's M7 project. COVID has been turned into M7 project. That's the fact. Because I'm telling you, he is one person. We even said that he even created an office and said whoever interferes with this project will be charged with attempted murder. If I dared stepped there to address the concerns of the people, you rest assured I'll be nabbed and charged with attempted murder.
Right,
Never mind that I'm the Lord Mayor of the capital city.
I'm just praying they're not waiting for you in the Serena parking. But Dr.
This is the reality we are talking about. That whoever gets close to the fight against COVID, if you're not within his own structure, you'll be charged with attempted murder. So that is the whole thing.
Dr. Bainomugisha, how are you working in this particular fight? Which are you within the structure? Are you within the Lord Mayor lines that he's outlining?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. First, I think we need to applaud this country in the fight against COVID-19. To the extent that we haven't lost a person. I think it's fundamental.
By default, we have not lost.
We haven't lost, and so we need to thank God. We need fundamental. But secondly, I think we need to be now more coherent, more coordinated, because you see, COVID has presented a big challenge. It's actually not only COVID, because this time we have had locusts, we have had flooding, we have had COVID. But we can actually thrive. We can even be better organized after COVID. It has also given us an opportunity. I want to agree with the Road Mayor on a point that actually we need to be better organized, because now that the government has eased allowing public transport to come back, there is a need for serious coordination. And if the Road Mayor's office is not involved, I think it needs also to be involved, because he represents a number of people. And I know that the Minister of Works, Transport, and the Minister for Kampala are in charge of this.
Just information on that.
Yeah.
It's not only the Lord Mayor. We have over 260 elected leaders in Kampala. But it was categorically stated by Mr. Museveni, not even a single person, not the Mayor of the Division Urban Council should be on the task force, not even a single council, not anyone.
And that is that's why I'm coming in. And this is the point I'm making, is that you see, COVID-19 is a massive problem, is an enemy of this country and the world. And fighting it needs concerted effort. So there's a need for actually everybody to be involved. There's a need for serious coordination to work together, to marshal the resources together. So what I would want to see here is actually to bring in the opposition as well, civil society, because we come from civil society, to bring in the government and put our ideas together so that actually we can organize this city. Indeed, Kampala, even before COVID, was very congested. Kampala is known to be a very polluted city in sub-Saharan Africa. So this COVID, by the way, Kampala, since COVID-19, it has become a clean city. So now that we have had people outside the city, coming back should have given us an opportunity to organize Kampala, organize transport. Because people waste even a lot of time and certainly a lot of money in the traffic jam, in the confusion. So we need now, Lord Mayor, here is an opportunity to work together. And I think we need to lessen politicking and increase on planning and coordination so that the Kampala can become a very organized and enviable city for people to make business.
Dr. Banomagisha, just to shed some light on that before I throw over to the Lord Mayor. The issue here for me is, I do understand where you're coming from, where you say that you need to have a centralized kind of effort. Otherwise, you'll find Kampala maybe doing well, and maybe the situation in Kabale is very dire. But my issue would be, and maybe the Lord Mayor, you'll jump onto this immediately after, you have a COVID-19 task force that is made of the same usual suspects that are in the thick of running the day-to-day affairs of the government, with the exception of maybe the Ian Clarks. It's kind of a copy and paste. Now, if you're telling me that Dr. Banomagisha, civil society is represented and maybe private sector is, yes, aren't we seeing that kind of copy and paste that just reciprocates and does the same thing to the same duties? Lord Mayor, you could just jump onto this.
You see, I get irritated by this mantra that the opposition is all about politicking. That's not
but also, Lord Mayor, I have to warn you, you usually use very big words. And for us ordinary folk like me, we do not understand very big words. You see, please, go ahead.
It really disturbs some of us. And we are making a very strong case for structured operations in the country, for proper planning. I want to tell you, from within our circles, this time around, there was a lot of goodwill from various stakeholders, because this is a threat to all of us, a threat to our survival. And we could not just sit back and say, that is for NRM, let them battle it. I will also die. We are all threatened. We sat within our own organizations, within our respective formations, and said, look, let's see if there is a framework that will incorporate us within this particular struggle. But you saw what happened. This should have started from the National Task Force. That as you were assembling the National Task Force, there is a wide spectrum of stakeholders. They should all be on board.
That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Regardless of our political differences.
We are in agreement on that.
Exactly. Yeah. But that did not happen. Now it was made not even an NRM affair, because not every NRM stakeholder is on board. Not even the institutions. They are not there. Because at least, even if you decided to exclude other political players for political reasons, like ourselves and our political parties, at least the institutions of government should be involved in this. Like Parliament. Parliament is so central when you look at the constitutional configuration, constitutional framework. Parliament is so central in dealing with a crisis of this nature. And actually that is the spirit of Article 110, which we have time and again highlighted and said Article 110 provided a robust framework that we would use as government, putting Parliament at the center of everything to play a pivotal role. That it should be Parliament where the planning should be done, where the accountability systems should be put in place, and where everything should be focused. So right now, they shifted all the arrangements from Parliament to the President's office. And that system has cascaded up to the down. I'm telling you, to all these other levels. Because at a district level, they said, you know, we can't involve all the leaders at a district level. It should be the RDCs. When it came to distribution of food, they said, you know, it should not be even the lower administrative structures. It should be now the LDUs. You can see right from the top, excluding the key government agencies and structures. That is very, very absurd. And that's why you see here the crisis we are seeing in the transport sector. That should be our mandate as cases here.
Dr. Vanomugisha, let me bring you back into the conversation. He's touched, the Lord Mayor has touched on a very important point. The mere fact that the State House has become the judge, the jury, and the executioner in this particular fight, what the likes of Accord, which are looking at this particular ball from the outside in, what is your take on the particular address of the COVID-19 pandemic vis-a-vis what the Lord Mayor is addressing here? How the State House has managed to take this fight by the throat when it comes to execution, implementation. God knows even all the donations are being overseen by them.
Thank you very much. I think let us see, I want to approach it from the fact that we have, the world has never faced such a national and international threat to peace and security. When it came, and I was discussing with the road mayors, we waited, that actually all over the world, actually COVID-19 has kind of actually reversed like democratic gains. Even in the US, which is seen as a leader of the free world, the COVID has completely thrown them into confusion. So I wouldn't now mind so much the way they did, because if you are a president, if you are a road mayor, I imagine if the road mayor was the president of this country, he would have approached it also the way he would, and would not actually.
No.
But now that. Wait, listen.
Just information on that. Just a quick one. Just a quick one. Don't worry.
Listen, Road Mayor. We saw Boris Johnson in UK, even refusing actually to adhere to Harris conditions, and he's insisting he will shake hands, and he catches the what? Listen, he catches the answer to that. He catches COVID. Now he's a reformed person. We see Trump. So I don't want to apportion the blame to the road mayor, to anyone, to any leader in the world.
A quick response to that.
And can I answer the question?
No, Doctor, just a quick response.
So that we now don't blame each other and now move forward and address the problem. We have seen there were challenges, but now it's a national crisis. It is facing, it's a global crisis. I think moving forward, Road Mayor, that's why I'm proposing that it needs concerted effort. Everybody should come together.
But this is my issue, Dr. Vanomugisha. Yes, you have not addressed the question.
I'm coming in, actually, I was coming in, civil society, we were actually not involved. We were not involved at all. Even we didn't have stickers, we didn't, at least the media, you were there. Because you see, we also consider civil society to be the fifth estate. But, it was not there. That's why I also want to advocate for space.
We were only there because we have to show who has donated.
And that's another thing. But civil society, do you know how much money we bring in this country? How much jobs we have created? It's a lot. So we also felt excluded. But I don't want to dwell now on the past. I want to dwell on the present and moving forward into the future. And Lord Mayor, I want also to use this opportunity to appeal to the government. What the road mayor is talking about is correct, that actually the National Task Force needs to be democratized. We need to bring on all the stakeholders. That, for example, now the economies of the world and our own they have been battered. So if you exclude, for example, the private sector, if you exclude civil society, because we bring in the governance, we are supposed to be asking very hard questions. So if you exclude even the opposition, we need to bring in the opposition to ask the hard questions. And that's how society can quickly stand on its feet and move forward. So, so let's not dwell on the past, but how do we deal with the present and moving forward? Because the problem is still here. And if we mess up, because countries like South Korea, which had rolled this COVID-19, there has been a resumption of it.
A second wave is definitely, the WHO is warning of second waves being imminent. Lord Mayor, you had a point of clarification.
You see, he said even if it were myself in the government, I would approach it the same way. I'm telling you, I'm not a warlord. No. For him, he's using the Luwero methods. No. That's not for me. I come from a different background. I respect the culture of rule of law and constitutionalism.
Okay.
I wouldn't, before even going into the template, he has said USA, UK, I would go to the constitution of Uganda. What does it say? That is the guiding tool. What does it say when you are faced with a crisis of this nature? And it has solutions for information.
Lord Mayor, I want to ask you a personal question. I do empathize with where you're coming from. The videos that we watched, which was actually live from Nansana, people stranded on the road for over 2 hours. This is in real time. This is actually happening. It's not opinion, it's a fact. But can we give the president some praise for how this thing has been handled? The reason why I say this is because just across the border, we do have a Tanzania, we do have a Magufuli, who said he's actually opened up the airport. Now, we might disagree, not even might, we disagree with a lot that has been done, but can we also give him praise for a few things that have been done? And if yes, could you give me 3 things that you think the president has got right? If no, say no,
I'm
then
afraid
we move on.
if you were a teacher, I don't know how you would assess the performance of students. I think you do it subjectively. I'm telling you, everything has got a benchmark. Before you come up with a postcard on Museveni's performance against this crisis. Yes, COVID-19, this is what I'm talking about. You must have the parameters. You must have a benchmark against which you are assessing his performance. It can't be done subjectively.
How about regional cases?
No, listen. Listen, for us in people's government, we rolled out a plan. And these are key pillars, tenets we put across and said, this is what should have been considered. And this should have offered us an opportunity to assess the performance of the state.
Lord Mayor,
I can't do it randomly.
No. For purposes of leveled debate, as 3 gentlemen having a gentleman's argument and a gentleman's conversation at this table, if we were to agree that we're using cases in the region, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, if we're using, let's say, those as our benchmark, cases that have been confirmed in the countries as our benchmark, would you give him any merit, or demerits? Yes or no?
Yes, no, it can't be
but now
yes
you're
or no.
answering like a lawyer.
No, listen, it can't be a yes or no.
Or a politician.
Let me tell you, there must be benchmarks.
And we're using our benchmark
Can we go? No, you can't use a comparative study that in terms of the performance of other countries in the region or the continent.
So what's the benchmark used in the people's government?
Exactly. That should have
Clearly,
been...
that's the only one you will answer.
No, not even ours only, but it should be a national plan. And this is what we are saying. One, in terms of, first and foremost, the assessment of the prevalence of the virus. That's where we should have started from. How pervasive is it? Before you confront it, you can ask yourself, how many tests have we done? From the statistics we have less than 60,000 out of 45 million Ugandans. Should I give him credit or not?
But,
and they hiked the test, the cost for tests. For us, we have carried out a survey and a study and established a test can cost roughly $3. At the very worst, it can be $30, but they said it is $65. That is no. You see, these are the benchmarks we have to use.
Okay.
If they did not,
I think it's very unfair for you to say something like under 60,000 tests that have been done when across the border in Kenya, which is a country that is way more thriving. It's a middle income, according to the World Bank, it's middle income status. We are still low developing status. Kenya has a GDP that is arguably twice as higher as ours, twice as big as ours, and Kenya has not even done 60,000 tests.
If I may ask you, how many of
number 2 in the region in terms of doing tests?
The tests we're talking about are of two categories.
Antibodies or the swab?
Not in those professional terms. I'm talking about the graphical, I mean, the statistics from within the categories of people they have been testing.
Community-based and high risk?
Yes, community-based and high risk. How many have we got from community-based?
I do not have the stats on hand, but
Exactly.
yes.
What they are basically doing are the imported cases. Those who have been in the quarantine, the returnees, and those who are driving the trucks, the truck drivers. That's basically what they are doing. They made an attempt at community testing. For your information, I was tested. I got tested. But I asked, how is this being done? There is no plan. There is no framework. How would an ordinary Ugandan access the people, the team that is doing the testing? There is no clear arrangement. There is no information. There is no plan. So why would I give credit to somebody? Actually, what Parliament did was wrong. You want me to also go into that direction where they passed a vote of thanks for a job well done without even figures, without even a report. Let me tell you, ever since this COVID thing broke out, President Museveni has not stepped in Parliament to address them. Not even a single day. Not even a single day. It's only today when he's going there to deliver a statutory State of the Nation address as a ritual, but he has never, tell me, even a single day, he has not been there. But Parliament had the audacity of saying, you have done very well, without even getting a report from him. That is absolutely ridiculous.
So the President, His Excellency...
so I'll not do that myself, I'm sorry.
He's going to be at the State House. So you refuse...
I wanted to give the benchmarks.
Yes.
Now, in terms of managing the lockdown, where's the plan? The lockdown, managing it. About, for example, the welfare of the people who are under lockdown. Where is the plan? It's not there. Revamping the health sector. It's today, let me tell you, where we would be honoring our commitments under the Abuja Protocol of committing at least 15% of the budget to the health sector right now. 15%. Do you know where we stand right now? They passed the 2020-21 budget with astronomical figures of 45.5 trillion. Do you know how much is going to health? Security is taking 4.5 trillion. Paying interest on the public debt is 4 trillion. Works is taking 5.8 trillion. And health is taking 2.7 trillion. Agriculture 1.3 trillion.
Yes,
You'll ask now, within that budget framework, tell me the stimulus packages they are provided to prepare for the post-lockdown or for the post-COVID recovery plan within that budget. It's not there.
No. This is very interesting stuff, and I want to bring you in, Dr. Wainomugisha, especially when it comes to the budgetary framework. Two things. I actually touched on this with Ibrahim Samunjung and just before. One is the Malabo Declaration, where we're supposed to have close to 10% of GDP going towards agriculture. God knows it's employing close to 70% of our people. Then here, the Lord Mayor also just does touch on a big one, Abuja Protocol.
Yeah, Abuja Protocol.
Healthcare in a country like this, COVID-19 has just assured us how bare we are. As a CORD, how essential is it for you to actually push for many of these protocols? God knows we're signatories to the African Union. How essential is it for us to push the government to remind them, hey, you're signatories to some of these amazing protocols and declarations. Why aren't you adhering to them? And security is taking these trillions of Uganda shillings.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because I'm not a politician.
But I want you to do a civil society hat.
Yes, I want to give you the civil society perspective. But just coming from, I think I want to applaud the National Task Force. But of course also to thank God that we have handled this COVID at least better than even the developed countries. And whether in the confused manner, so we need to applaud and give people credit, especially our health workers that have been at the forefront. And of course, the president has taken leadership. But there's a lot that needs to be done. Now, from the budget perspective, the budget architecture, I want to agree that actually we need, that the COVID has opened our eyes that there is need for this country to invest seriously in the health sector, because most of our rich people, the political elites, have been going to India, health tourism, for treatment. And you know, the good news is that this COVID has crossed all the borders, and our people have had to actually had treatment from here, and they have survived, even when we have a very poor health system. This should send us to rethink our health system. First, I think we have one of the best health workers in the world, but we are never facilitated. So there is a need for the budget now to invest seriously in the health sector, and actually I think should take the lion's share. Secondly,
but when you say we have some of the best health workers in the world, what basis do you base?
The basis I have is that they have treated our people, and our people are recovering. When the US, when Brazil, when UK, people have died. No.
When I spoke
you
to
can't take it away from our people.
No, I spoke to Dr. Baterana just a few weeks ago and asked him, so when you get many of these patients, especially the ones who are asymptomatic, God knows you haven't had a fatality before, when you admit them to Mulago, what happens? What's going on? What do you give them? Do you give them chloroquine, like how President Donald Trump was saying? And he said, you know what, we treat what symptom they have. If someone has cough, we treat the cough. If someone has a cold, we treat the cold. So I don't think that is a fair metric.
But that's a protocol. No, they have developed a protocol they are following, and that's brilliancy. I'm telling you, it's not rocket science. That is brilliancy, being able to be innovative and respond to a problem. So they need the credit on that. But I want to argue that the health sector needs serious financing. Agriculture sector, which is the backbone of this country, needs a lot of investment. And I can assure you, our economy, we organized a dialogue just last week, and NTV was there with the Minister of Finance. And the Secretary of the Treasury said, actually, like those countries that their economies are likely to grow at 0%. So Uganda is likely to grow at like 0.1 something %. And so the point I'm making is that we need to seriously, quickly invest in those sectors of the economy that can give us quick wins so that this economy can be revamped.
But these are conversations that we've had timeless times before. We've talked about agriculture, we've talked about value addition, we've talked about boo-boo, we've talked about all these things. And you know, we'd leave this stuff on the table.
Yeah, I think time has come. It has been a little,
and the
from a
reason
civil society perspective.
The reason why this hurts me is because civil society, this is now your role.
Yeah.
This is basically what you do. You push this stuff down their throat and say it over and over again.
And unfortunately, the Lord Mayor knows
I have an answer
we don't. What we can do is to do research, evidence-based research. And actually now we are doing research. Next week we'll be talking about education. But we have done research that shows where we can make quick wins. If we invest in agriculture, for example.
But we knew that.
If we need to invest in environment and natural resources governance, because there is an environmental debt. I'm telling you that this environmental debt has completely destroyed what has seemed to be the progress. You saw the houses being submerged. And simply because we have been shouting about environmental governance, and they have been laughing at us. But nature has reclaimed itself and has washed away this. So there is a need to invest in environment. And the environment, we are seriously looking, we are looking at, for example, clean energy. We are talking about clean energy. We are talking about green businesses, and where you can easily target the youth and the women to start green businesses. He's talking about this stimulus. Here is an opportunity. They are going to capitalize the UDP, rather Uganda Development Bank. And now the challenge is actually how to put that money into the hands of the young people and the women who are the majority in this country.
That is one challenge.
That is going to be a challenge. So agriculture, environment are going to be very, very important, but also corruption. Corruption. You know, and unfortunately, during a crisis like this one, it is when people try actually even to make a killing or to steal. I want to appeal to government. We have contracted loans. IMF has given us 1.9 trillion shillings, and more loans are coming. We already had a debt burden. If I want the government to be very serious, to be serious in terms of recovery. They get you, they recover, but you also perhaps if he's a politician, you should completely be punished that you should never stand up again, so that the money that we get serves to revamp this economy.
Is Kazinda still in prison?
I think Kazinda, the road mayor is are you his lawyer? I don't know. The road mayor is the lawyer.
Is Kazinda still in prison?
Yeah, because corruption could easily make this country fail to revamp this economy, and then we have a youth dividend. We could have actually a crisis as poverty sinks. There's likely to be an insurgency based on hopelessness and discontent.
Lord Mayor, you wanted to respond to something earlier on. Before we sum up your expectations for the State of the Nation address.
You see, I want the civil society to rise to the occasion. This lamentation is not good for you and for all of us. Let's put exact pressure where we are supposed to get maximum dividends. Institutionalization of government is important. In as much as you people shy away from that reality, there is much that we are going
Can you shed more light about institutionalization?
Yes, this is where we started the
coordination.
Everything has been personalized. Your voice will not matter if the forum where they are supposed to articulate these issues is decapitated like a parliament. In this crisis, parliament ought to play a very critical and central role.
I agree.
You get it? But right now, in dealing with all the appropriations, there isn't much pressure that is being exerted for parliament to take their place.
Is this the same parliament that got 20 million for each member? Because it's like there's double standards here. Because the same people who were fighting for the 10 billion when they got it, and then they didn't want to return it.
You see,
is it the same parliament here?
What I'm talking about, forget about that. Yes, I know that was wrong. But the whole project was turned, the whole COVID fight was turned into a bonanza. And they were also cashing in this crisis, getting some crumbs. That's a fact.
Maybe that's why the president is avoiding them in the first place and not making them part of the...
But they are our representatives and they have a role to play, a constitutional role to play in this particular case. Like, for example, I've talked about the issues you are raising of UD being recapitalized. That is neither here nor there. It's not going to help the informal business here in Kampala or the agricultural sector or the tourism. It's not going to help as long as we have not dealt with the critical issue of credit relief. And that is the role Parliament should play. Credit relief. It's important. Now we have to first deal with the broader question of the bank rate. Bank rate and the liquidity. Bank rate. It is staggering around now 8 to 9.
Yeah. They cut it down by 1 percentage point just a month or something ago.
Exactly. Kenya is 7. It should be brought it down. You remember at the time we had work to work in 2011, it was around 23. If it's not brought down to around 7, the trickle-down effect is going to be nowhere. You get the whole thing.
It's definitely very, very expensive money. But just
very, very expensive.
Just before, gentlemen, I'm going to come back to you so that we sum this up. But let's just throw over to our reporter on the street, Stephen.
I thought we were still delving in most of these issues.
Yes.
The specifics.
We're going to come back, Lord Mayor. Stephen Bide, very, very briefly, just give us a sense of what you see.
Ekintu baleme kirowoozaako kuba ng'ekyabagwako obugwi nti entambula egenda kubeerawo olunaku bwe luti oba bakitegeera takisi zikoma baba basibye ennaku bwe ziti ate we bata ate ne bagamba nti mulina okwewandiisa obunafu bwebuse. Okay, we've been moving from Nansana, yes, from our stage. We are in a taxi, but taxis from Nansana, they are charging passengers between 4,000 and 5,000 shillings for those who are heading towards the city. This taxi is just stopping at the northern bypass that is called Lubigi and is charging people from Nansana Iswamara 2,000 shillings. And let me also speak to this gentleman. Sebo, ebyentambula mubadde ku stage okuva ssaawa 12 ki ekyalitaka okukolebwa okutereeza ebyentambula?
Yes, amanya nze Kayitale Andrew ku Yesu Amala. Amagezi nange ge nandiwadde neebaza omukulembeze kankiddemu omulundi ogwokubiri. Amagezi ge nandiwadde mu kutereeza entambula sitekanso nga basigadde nti be balina obuyinza ku ntambula. Entambula eno bagiweemu obudde. Badduleeva bajje nga bawandiise mmoroka mpola. Bajje nga bawandiise mmoroka zaabwe mpola mpola paka lwe zinaggwayo. Naye baleme kuteekawo teeka nti atayina tagenda mu luguudo. Ng'ate abantu bonna tebayina. Ate nga n'obudde babawadde butono kati kyovola nti era bwedda tuli sitaaka emmoroka teziriiwo. N'ekiro bwe bite era bunaaba buzibye tetugenda okukola tugenda ku poliisi we tujja okusula okusinga okukwatibwa kafyu. So ng'ate entambula pulezidenti yagituwadde sitekanso yeeba eyamba abantu erowooze ku kusolovinga ensonga eno ng'ate abantu tebanyigiddwa. Kubanga bwegenda maaso ng'ekozesa eno sisitemu gye baataddewo abantu tugenda kunyigibwa era ekigendererwa ky'omukulembeze kye yatusolovingidde kijja kuba tekisolovingiddwa.
Okay, let me also have the views of the taxi conductor. We are just seated 7 passengers in this taxi, which is coming from Nansana Yusuf Amala, and also we want also to understand how is it going to affect the taxi conductors and drivers. Sebo conductor, babatadde naye embeera eri etya emmotoka ntono nnyo ku taxi.
Mukama wange nange neeyanziza omukisa ogwo. Nze kyensuubira taata Natasha teyayagadde bwagazi kuta taxi, alabika ekigendererwa kye kirala nnyo kubanga tosobola kuleeta kintu kyakuwandiisa taxi mweno mu kino ekiseera ng'obudde tubadde na bungi. Wakati nange ndi wano ndi kondakita naye ng'ate mbadde ndi dereva. Pamiti yange yaggwako sina we ngenda gikolera binyusaawo eno kitegeeza nange obuzibu buanfectinze. So nga wali nga tugenze tuwandiisa mpola nange nsobola okuba nga nvuga essaawa zino era emmotoka yange gyeri mu parking siinawo solution yonna yonna essaawa eno gye nyinza gikozesa. Eno ensonga tagipapiramu atuweemu obudde obumala.
Okay. The taxi conductors and drivers are asking for more time for them to be able to register their taxis and this in order to streamline this business. Many passengers have been stranded on the roads from 6 a.m. because very few taxis were able to register themselves. Even this taxi is not allowed to access the city center, and the taxi conductor and driver are saying they're going to stop at the northern bypass because they are not allowed to access the city. They haven't yet registered. This is Morning at 10 TV. Stephen Mbidde mfefesu w'ekibuga mbadde mu taxi wano era nkyali mu taxi nga tuvuga tuva ku Yesu Amala. Now Arnold Segawa, take it over from me.
Thank you for that, Stephen Bide. Taking over from you. Gentlemen, let's just sum up. Let me start with you, Dr. Vaino Mugisha. Some final remarks in regards to the State of the Nation address that we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, the State of the Nation address, of course, is a precursor to the budget. And so I want to appeal to the government to invest seriously in key sectors that could restart this economy, because it's going to be worse. Because we are going to see another level of criminality as post-COVID period. So investing seriously in ICT infrastructure, we can see that actually now some schools, some students cannot study because they don't have this. We can see environmental degradation, that is important. Capital, I want to support the mayor putting money in the hands of the people to increase aggregate demand. If people don't have the money, that is going to be a crisis. But also time maybe has come to try to increase, to tackle the banks. The bank rate, the interest rate is so high that actually, and most of them are foreign banks. That is going to be critical as to how to put money in people's hands. The final point I want to talk about is what I've talked about. Rural electrification needs to be real, rural electrification, but also to try to put money in the youth livelihood funds, women's funds, because these are majority of the people, but don't politicize it. It should be less politics, more national, so that the majority of the women can get money. These women's groups actually can easily put back this economy, because women need little money actually to work than the men. The men are so ambitious. So put more money in the women's groups.
Doctor, that came off.
But also create a civil society fund.
My boss, Josephine Karunji, I'm praying she hasn't had that. When you say that women need more, I need to kind of defend you before I walk out and she she puts me off for like 2 weeks. But yes, I do appreciate where you're coming from. Definitely vulnerable groups, definitely the women and the youth we need to see more capitalization in that particular direction. Before I hand over to you, Lord Mayor, this issue of interest rates, remember that the central bank rate, the mandate of a central bank globally is price stability. Now, what does price stability mean? Keeping inflation in check. Now, if you are the US Federal Reserve Bank, they have a dual mandate, which is unemployment figures have to be down and also maintain price stability. If you're the ECB or Bank of Uganda, we concentrate solely on price stability. Now, keeping the central bank rate at the place where it is right now, which is quite high, is for us to keep inflation low. Lord Mayor, you are just about to get into the juicy part when they give us the warning for 3 minutes to go.
But in effect, you are creating a liquidity squeeze. And the aggregated demand he was talking about. And that's why the prices for agricultural produce have gone down.
Yes, but then
the agricultural sector is going to collapse.
But the argument is that it is better off to have a liquidity squeeze than to have inflation spiraling above 400%, as is the case in Zimbabwe.
I wish we had enough time to discuss those economics. I'm afraid you are telling us there is no time. Responding to one of the issues he raised, he said the State of the Nation address is a precursor to the budget. I think that is a misconception. It's a misnomer. That's not true. The system was long distorted. And I think we need to revisit the law that was made by Parliament, that the budget is passed before 31st of May. They have already passed the budget. I've told you the figure is 45 point. What is going to be given is a budget speech on 11th. So there is no debate, there is no what. The budget is already passed. Actually, they're just going to have a press conference to announce what the budget that was passed by Parliament. But the issue is there's nothing that they can change now.
They used to read the budget, then it would go back to Parliament, then you
debate the idea was...
then we're part of the East Africa community and all of us have to have
a
budget.
No, that arrangement has to be changed.
So in the spirit of East Africa community...
I understand the background, but it doesn't make sense. There's no logic in it. Because why a State of the Nation address for the President to account to the country? What we have done in the past financial year. And then you heard what is going to happen in the next financial year. Then we determine the projections and the priorities, and then it informs the debate as we are making the budget. Yes. Unfortunately, that's not the case now.
I see.
Now, finally, I would implore Parliament. We rolled out our post-COVID plan. Please pick a cue from what we highlighted. I didn't have enough time here. I thought I would get time to bring out some of those key highlights of what we rolled out, but to just 2 things. We commissioned a team of experts who studied the budget framework, the current budget outlay, and discovered that we have a whooping sum of 19.7 trillion, which is not spent, and the financial year is about to end. So we invite Parliament to look into this figure and allocate it to those critical sectors which need interventions right now. Social protection, the stimulus to revamp the economy, to jumpstart the informal businesses, agriculture and tourism. These are key sectors where you should redirect this money, where you should reallocate it. You can contact us, we can give you the specifics, the details, the information is there, so that we help the common person in this country. And finally, get this COVID fight from the hands of Mr. Museveni. Play your role as provided for under the Constitution. Live up to the dictates of the Constitution. Please be assertive and tell Mr. Museveni this is not his personal warfare. It's for all of us.
I'm very sure he's watching NTV, or his aides are watching NTV, and that message has gotten to him. To my left, many thanks for making time to speak to us, the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Erias Lukwago, and to my extreme left, the Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, who is the Executive Director at Accord. That's where we leave it for this edition of Morning at NTV. Arnold Sagawa here with you. I'm afraid we've run out of time. A very insightful, erudite conversation here. I'm picking up on a few big words that the Lord Mayor usually uses. Maybe all of this is actually more contagious, the big word syndrome, I think. But Lord Mayor, many thanks for making time to speak to us. Also, Dr. Bainomugisha. That's where we'll leave it. Have a lovely morning. I'll be back at 1 with the NTV at 1. For now, Mwasuzumtia with Farida Nakazibwe. Have a good morning.